Welcome to the Listen Up Girl podcast, your daily LGBTQ news podcast. I am Zach Randall-Friedman, the host of this podcast, and today is Friday, June 26th. We are day 26 of Pride Month. 2 days from now, millions of people are going to fill the streets of New York City for one of the most iconic LGBTQ plus events on Earth. But before we get there, we've got a fight happening right now about who gets to march. A California court dealt a blow to the LGBTQ kids this week. Lil Nas X is coming up in a way that matters. A new queer film dropped on streaming today, and a literary activation in New York City just kicked off for the weekend. So there's a lot happening, so let's start. First, Grand Marshals to the New York City Pride banned the hospitals. Before Sunday's New York City Pride March even steps off from Fifth Avenue, a major battle is already underway, and it's about accountability. The Gender Liberation Movement, a queer advocacy organization, sent an open letter to Heritage of Pride, the organization that puts the New York City Pride March on, demanding that 3 major New York City hospital systems be banned from marching this Sunday. The hospitals called up by name: NYU Lagoon, Mount Sinai, and New York Presbyterian. Why? Because those institutions caved. Earlier this year, under pressure from the Orange Convicted Felons Administration, the threat of losing federal funding, NYU and Mount Sinai preemptively ended gender-affirming care program for trans youth. In May, NYU became the first hospital system in the country to receive a criminal subpoena demanding the medical records of trans minors who received care between 2020 and 2026. Both NYU and Mount Sinai have indicated they would cooperate. Advocates say you do not get to abandon trans kids all year and then march in their parade. And the letter has serious firepower behind it. Current 2026 NYC Pride Grand Marshal Bowen Yang, Dominique Jackson, Peppermint, and Jay Walker of Gays Against Guns all signed on. Former Grand Marshals, including T.S. Madison, Jazz Jennings, and Raquel Willis, added their names. Altogether, more than 20 Grand Marshals and over a dozen LGBTQ nonprofit organizations and dozens of parents of trans children have signed the letter. The letter puts it plainly: institutions cannot claim solidarity with LGBTQ community one day a year while abandoning trans youth with political pressure mounts. As of now, Mount Sinai says it's still planning to participate in the march. Heritage of Pride has not publicly responded to the demand. The deadline given to Heritage of Pride to respond was Monday, and the march is Sunday. So we'll see how this plays out. But this movement is exactly what Pride is supposed to be about: accountability, not just a celebration. I'm very shocked that these New York City hospitals did this, but nothing should surprise any of us anymore. Our next story is California court blocks protecting LGBTQ kids from being outed. So this one stings. A federal appeals court ruled this week that California cannot enforce its landmark student privacy policy, the one specifically designed to protect LGBTQ students from being forcibly outed to their parents by school staff. The law in question is Assembly Bill 1955, known as the Safety Act. It strengthened California's existing protections by prohibiting school districts from having any policy requiring staff to disclose a student's gender, identity, or sexual orientation to parents without the student's permission. The intent was clear: protecting LGBTQ youth from the very real harm that can come from being outed before they are ready. But the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled on Thursday that the law cannot be enforced while legal challenges against it move through the courts. The decision echoes language from an earlier Supreme Court ruling that sent the case back to the appeals court. Language that framed parents as having the constitutional right to know about their children's gender expression at school. So let me be clear what this means in practice. It means a school staff member can now disclose to a parent if that their child is gay or trans, even if the child is not ready, even if that disclosure could put the child in danger. And we know the research. LGBTQ youth who are outed before they are ready face significantly higher rates of depression, homelessness, and suicide attempts. California has been one of the strongest states for LGBTQ right protections. This ruling is a setback, and advocates are vowing to keep fighting. The Safety Act case is not over, but this week, on the eve of Pride, it's a reminder that the fight for our kids is not abstract, it's urgent, and it's right now. I could not imagine being outed by a teacher or someone at my school when I was in high school of being outed. because I wasn't out, first of all, but if I was out and a teacher told my parents, I would not have been ready in high school. Like, it could have caused, what if my parents would have kicked me out? Not that they would have, but it could have happened. My dad didn't talk to me for 6 months after I came out, so who knows? I think that is a horrible law. Next, Lil Nas X opens up about bipolar disorder and the message matters. So Lil Nas X is back, and what he shared this week is bigger than any comeback single. The out rapper and pop icon posted a video on Instagram last week opening up about his diagnosis with bipolar disorder. The post came after a very public 2025 in which Nas was filmed wandering the streets of Los Angeles in distress before being hospitalized and later arrested. In April of 2026, a judge placed him in court-ordered mental health diversion program, which meant the charges against him could be dismissed if he successfully completed the treatment. He completed treatment, he came home, and now during Pride Month, he chose to speak. In the video, Nas said he has been in rehab, has a therapist and a psychiatrist, and is focused on grounding himself. He described living with bipolar disorder as being, and those are his words, on extreme hard mode. He said he is grateful and he is already talking about new music. His father spoke publicly about the weight of his son has been carrying, being a young breadwinner for his family, dealing with his mother's struggles with homelessness and addiction, and carrying the pressures of international fame at 26 years old. The story matters for two reasons. First, Lil Nas X is one of those most visible young gay black men in pop culture. When he speaks about mental health with his kind vulnerability, it reaches people who might not otherwise hear the message. And second, it is Pride Month, and queer people, especially queer people of color, face disproportionately high rates of mental health challenges. Destigmatizing that conversion is pride work. Wishing Nas nothing but the healing, music, and joy. I can't wait to hear more about what amazing things he does in the future. Next, Queens of the Dead drops on Hulu today. For those of you with a long Pride weekend ahead and a couch calling your name, today is a good day. Hulu dropped Queens of the Dead today, June 26th, a new queer horror film starring Dominique Jackson, who you may know from Pose and who is, as we mentioned earlier, is one of this year's New York City Pride Grand Marshals. The film has been generating buzz in the queer entertainment community for months, and now it is finally here. Queens of the Dead sits at the intersection of queer identity, horror, and survival, a genre that has always been a special relationship with LGBTQ plus community, perhaps because we've always understood what it means to feel like a monster in someone else's story, and to reclaim that narrative. It is giving exactly the kind of Pride Weekend viewing energy we need, campy, fierce, with teeth. Dominique Jackson is a force, and if you're looking for something to watch tonight before the weekend festivities kick off, this is your move. Next, the Aesop Queer Library is open in New York City this weekend. Here is something beautiful happening right now in New York City, and it runs through Sunday. The Aesop Queer Library returned to the Aesop's Nolita location for the 6th consecutive year, running from June 26th through June 28th. The brand's annual initiative transformed the store into a free community library space, offering complimentary books by queer authors to every visitor. This year's edition focuses specifically on writing that creates the queer body, literature that challenges assumptions and fosters connection and amplifies perspectives that are often left out of mainstream publishing. If you are in New York City this weekend, it's a free, low-key, beautiful way to honor Pride outside of the crowds or before the march on Sunday. Books, Queer Voices are a welcoming space in the middle of one of the most important weekends of the year. That is the spirit the community of Pride is built on. Love that. Next 2 days until the New York City Pride March, and here's what you need to know. The countdown is very real. The New York City Pride March is this Sunday, June 28th. It steps off at noon from 26th Street and 5th Avenue and runs through Midtown, through the West Village, ending near Christopher Street. Right now at the Stonewall Inn, where all it began on June 28th, 1969. 57 years ago later, we are still marching. This year's theme is For All of Us, drawn from a quote attributed to trans activist and Stonewall veteran Marsha P. Johnson. There is no pride for some of us without liberation for all of us. In 2026, with trans youth losing their access to health care and LGBTQ plus rights under sustained attack at federal levels, That theme is not decorative, it's a call. Grand Marshals this year again are Dominique Jackson, Peppermint, Bowen Yang, my friend Bernie Wagonblast, and Gays Against Guns. The march will broadcast live starting at noon on ABC 7 New York and be streamed everywhere you watch. If you are going, get there early, stake your spot by 10 a.m. if you want room to breathe, and if you're watching from home, pull it up on your TV and cheer loud. This is what this weekend is built for. And before I let you go, a few more stories to keep on your radar. The Mets are hosting a Pride Night tonight on June 26th at Citi Field, a big celebration for LGBTQ fans in Queens. LGBTQ activists across the country are continuing to push back against the Orange convicted felons administration attempts to restrict rainbow crosswalks in Florida, following a state directive threatening to cut funding from municipalities that maintain them. And Harlem Pride is happening tomorrow, Saturday, June 27th. Now it's 17th year, expecting more than 20,000 people. So that is your Listen Up Girl podcast for Friday, June 26th. Day 26 at Pride. The weekend is here. The march is in 2 days away. And the community is showing up in the streets, in the courts, and conversations that need to be had. If this show is part of your Pride routine, thank you so much. Keep it going. Follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if Listen Up Girl has meant something to you this month, please take 30 seconds to leave a rating or a review. It makes a real difference. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and follow us on social media at ZachRE, ZACHRE. And stay informed, stay proud, and I'll see you tomorrow with more LGBTQ news.